What if one of the very first clues to a serious neurological condition wasn't a tremor, wasn't a stumble, but was actually a subtle change in your signature? Today we're going to decode a hidden message that your own handwriting might be sending you. It's a warning that can show up years, before any other obvious signs, and it's one that could be absolutely critical to your future health.
Think about it. Your handwriting has been with you your whole life, right? It's as unique as your fingerprint. But what if, really slowly, almost unconsciously, your letters started getting smaller? It's such a subtle shift. You'd probably just dismiss it, as a shaky hand or maybe just a bad day. But what if it's not random at all? What if it's a direct signal from your brain telling you that something inside is starting to change?
Well, this subtle shrinking of your handwriting, it actually has a clinical name. It's called micrographia. And today, it's recognized as one of the earliest and honestly one of the most overlooked signs of a disease that can develop in silence for a decade or even longer. So let's unravel this mystery piece by piece. Now, the key word here is involuntary. This isn't something you're choosing to do. It's a progressive shrinking of your letters and words that you can't control. And that's what makes it so incredibly important. Micrographia is a powerful early warning sign of Parkinson's disease, and it often shows up years before the tremors and the stiffness that most of us associate with the condition.
But to really get how this happens, we first have to understand why it matters so much. Why is catching this one tiny clue so critical? Well, the answer lies in this silent countdown that can be happening inside the brain long before a diagnosis is ever made.
And look, the scale of Parkinson's is just massive. This is not some rare condition. We're talking about 10 million people around the world. That's millions and millions of individuals and families whose lives are touched by this progressive neurologic disease.
And that leads us to a huge problem, a massive diagnostic gap. On average, there's a 5 to 10-year delay between when the first symptoms pop up and when someone gets an official diagnosis. For all that time, the disease is progressing, but the signs are so subtle they're just, dismissed as stress or just a normal part of getting older.
And this is the devastating cost of that delay. By the time most people are formally diagnosed with Parkinson's, they've already lost around 60% of the critical dopamine-producing neurons in their brain. The damage is significant and it's irreversible before treatment even has a chance to begin. This is exactly why finding an earlier signal has been like a medical holy grail.
So what's the actual connection here? How does losing a specific chemical in your brain literally translate to smaller handwriting on a piece of paper? Well, it turns out the link is fascinatingly direct.
Just think about how common this symptom is. Study after study shows that a huge majority of Parkinson's patients, somewhere between 60 and 80%, experience micrographia. So this isn't some fringe occurrence. It is a core feature of how the disease begins.
Okay, so here's the mechanism behind it. Parkinson's goes after a part of the brain called the basal ganglia. You can kind of think of it as the volume control for your body's movements. And dopamine is the chemical that keeps that volume turned up. As your dopamine levels drop, that volume knob gets turned down. So your brain might intend to write big, bold letters, but the signal that actually reaches your hand is weaker, smaller. The execution just can't match the intention anymore.
And unlike a tremor, which can come and go, your handwriting leaves behind a permanent record. It's subjective evidence right there on the page. You can see the letters getting smaller as a sentence goes on. The words start to bunch up, and the ink gets lighter because you're not pressing as hard. It's a decline you can actually see and track over time.
Now, while micrographia is a really powerful clue, it almost never shows up in isolation. We have to zoom out and see it for what it is. It's one star in a larger constellation of early signs that, when you see them all together, they paint a much clearer picture of what's really going on.
This timeline is just wild. It shows you how early the brain starts sending out signals. A decade or more before a diagnosis, someone might lose their sense of smell. Years after that, maybe sleep disturbances or mood changes pop up, followed by things like constipation. Each one seems totally unrelated, right? But then, a change in handwriting can emerge as that first clear motor clue that connects all these different dots, pointing toward a single underlying cause.
And this is where the story gets really hopeful. We're moving beyond just subjective observation and into a new era where technology can analyze these subtle clues with incredible precision. We're turning a simple pen stroke into a powerful diagnostic tool.
Get this. AI algorithms can now analyze a simple handwriting sample and spot the patterns of micrographia with up to 95% accuracy. A person just writes a sentence on a tablet, and this powerful algorithm can give an objective risk assessment in moments. This is an absolute game changer for early screening.
And the power of this technology is really in its simplicity and its scale. It's accessible. All you need is a digital pen or tablet. It's objective. It totally removes the guesswork from observation. It's scalable, meaning it can be used in any doctor's office, not just a specialist's. And it makes tracking these tiny changes over months or years completely effortless.
So what does all this mean for you? Well, if you've noticed changes in your own handwriting, or maybe in a loved one's, here's a super clear, actionable plan. Document it. Write the same sentence every month and compare. Take note of any of those other early signs we talked about. And most importantly, talk to your doctor. The key here is not to panic, but to be proactive.
Ultimately, recognizing these early signs is about so much more than just getting an earlier diagnosis. It really signals a fundamental shift, a new paradigm in how we think about and how we fight back against neurodegenerative disease.
For way too long, medicine has been reactive. We've waited for the house to be engulfed in flames before we call the fire department. Early detection changes everything. The goal isn't just to manage the damage after 60% of those neurons are already gone. The new goal is to be proactive, to spot the very first spark and step in to protect the brain, with the ultimate hope of slowing, or maybe one day even preventing the fire from ever starting in the first place.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Parkinson's whispers through micrographia years before it shouts through tremors. Your handwriting has always been a part of your story, but now we know it might be telling the most important chapter of all. It's a quiet whisper from your brain, offering you the chance to act before that message becomes a shout. The only question is, are you listening?